Buongiorno a tutti ragazzi, siamo Valerio Tinalli e Valerio Cianfrocca di Ludus, con un ospite speciale direttamente dagli Stati Uniti, Leyla Johnson, a cui abbiamo inviato delle domande, perché lei è la CEO di Mohawk Games, questa casa indipendente, e avremo piacere a fargli delle domande, risponderà, insomma, e sentiremo un pochino che cosa succede nel mondo delle case indipendenti di produzione di videogiochi. Valerio, let's go with English.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. We are here with Leyla Johnson from the United States. She's the CEO of the independent software house Mohawk Games. And we managed to arrange this interview with her, and she will provide us with some information of about the American industry of video games. And we are very pleased to have here and can ask her this question and listen her answers. So welcome here, Leyla Johnson, and we can begin.
Thank you very much, Valerio and Valerio.
Yeah.
And so, Leyla, we will start with the first question. First of all, as we know, you are the CEO of a renowned independent software house, the Mohawk Games. And would you tell us, for beginning, how and when this experience began?
Sure. So Mohawk Games started in 2013. So I'm an owner, and I run the studio right now. So we've been around since 2013. We started with a small group of people that grew slowly. So on average, we've been about 8 to 10 people, the core team. But to work on Old World, we've expanded, if we're counting marketing and music and art, probably 50 at some point. So this is the most we grow to. And then we shrunk back to the core team.
Well, very remarkable from
yeah, it's quite a lot of people.
Yeah, a tiny beginning. So 50 people, I hear well.
Yes, and it's very important to say, like, especially with the types of games we make, or our own preference and philosophy, with the lead designer Soren Johnson and myself, we pay a lot of attention to music and art. And I don't know if you know this, but for example, Soren Johnson worked on Civilization 4. It was the first game ever to win a Grammy Award.
Yeah.
So when it comes to music, we've worked with multiple composers from around the world, with singers from around the world, with musicians from around the world. So I'm counting everyone who works with us, and that amounts to 50 people.
Very, very nice, very impressive. Very impressive. One brief little question that I came to my mind right now. In this time of strange and pandemic situation, the quality of your work it remains good, or have you found some difficulties to manage the work of everyone?
So when the pandemic happened, of course, no one was able to see it coming. We had to make a quick call on what to do next. And here is the power of a great team. I could be a great leader, but honestly, if I don't have an amazing team to follow the lead, I won't be able to do anything. So my hat is off to every single member on my team for their ability to cope very, very quickly. They knew their needs. They knew their responsibilities, they knew what is essential, and they are so talented, and as individuals, as human beings, they can honestly cope with anything. They're very professional. They were able to transition very quickly. I am baffled by our ability to not even lose a single beat, not even lose a single day of work. And that is really, it takes the whole team to be able to pull this off.
I can imagine.
We were able to adjust afterwards to adopt softwares to organize work. So we optimized our work on a software called Jira, and I was able to hire someone to help me in production, Amanda, associate producer, and she took over organizing the tasks, communicating with the team for tasks, things that we do around the office, walking from one office to another, talking with people. She was able to, to turn these into communication on Slack and on Jira, so people knew what was happening next.
Okay, so you relied with softwares in order to overcome these difficulties, yeah.
Yeah, of course, we used software to get organized, but nothing replaces the amazing ability of the team to communicate very well. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So you told us you start the Mohawk Games in 2013, and so we are looking right now at our society, and we see that there are some difficulties for women in order to get the power which is due to begin such an industry, such a company. So have you ever found difficulties in this world, and do you think there is a gender gap in the world of developing video games?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, of course, there is a gender gap. Okay. It's there in every industry.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, is there a gender gap also in the game industry? For sure. I also think that the game industry, but that's also my personal opinion, can do something about it much faster than any other industry. It is the newest industry, probably, but it is one, in my opinion and experience so far, it's one of the fastest to find solutions. So I have faith that the games industry will be able to close the gap faster. I can't say if it's ever going to be closed, but I feel like the games industry will be able to find solution faster than any other industry or department. I really hope that we get to a place where this is less of an issue for our daughters, for the future generations.
Yeah, of course. But do you think maybe the audience is perpetuating this kind of gender gap, the audience of video games, or maybe the audience of video games is changes too as well? So maybe, I don't know. What's your opinion about it?
I think changes happen all around. And when you have good role models, good studios, good philosophies happening here and there and everywhere, the audience will follow. We have a huge responsibilities as studios in the messages we deliver. We have huge responsibilities in the way we hire. So it is also upon us to establish a type of normalization that we'd like the audience to follow and see happen. So, yeah,
we agree, of course, on that.
Obviously. Well, very well. So let's talk instead about the core of our interview, and so about your game, or the Mohawk Games. In your experience, do you think that in general now the historical video games are gaining momentum in nowadays market?
Yes, definitely. I think maybe because I work in the industry with this specific genre, I am thinking it. But I also think that outside of all of this, the historical games are gaining momentum, and it's great. You know, this is what I like working on.
Yeah.
It's great to see, you know, the bits of history coming through in games. It's really amazing.
Yes, of course, because let's talk about, for example, all the real strategy games that now are returning in massive scale on the video games marketing. So maybe it's just a lucky momentum for the historical situation.
Yes, I mean, I feel it's a momentum, and I don't only feel that it's in the games industry. I also feel that it's also in the movie industry. Like, if I don't know if you're also noticing there are a lot of series on TV, at least here in the United States, we have them, and I know that they exist also in some parts of Europe. But we have, like, on Hulu, I watched The Great. There was a series about Peter the Great. That was really interesting. It's historically adjacent. So,
yeah.
they had some series with Rome. They did the Rome series. That was really nice. There's one that's Hannibal of Carthage. There are a lot of documentaries that are surfacing about the old world, the ancient civilizations. So I feel like there's a huge interest globally in history. And it's not just US-centric anymore. So it's really around the world. Even in the games industry, it's not US-centric. Like if you take, for example, Total War's last success was Three Kingdoms, which is in China.
In China,
yeah. So it's really good to see something that's just not the United Nations, not that's just the US or Europe-centric or kind of from all around the world, diverse historical stories, new highlights, and things that we just generally do not read about or know much about because other civilizations have taken the highlights. So it's good to see other places in the world shine in history.
Very nice, very nice.
And about your company and so on. So what's your point of view around the independent video game scene? And do you think that, of course, we already talked about the momentum of the historical video games, but do you think there is a fierce competition, is getting fiercer, or maybe there is cooperation, or maybe the market is so wide that there is no actual frustrating competition and so on?
When it comes to competition, I like more competition. Anytime there's more competition, the value of the product becomes better for the consumer, for the players, right? We wanna raise the bar, and I hope one of those companies that actually raise the bar. So if we're gonna do something, do it well, which makes it even, we're offering better products in general to the audience. I'll give a parallel example to the movie industry because the games industry is probably twice as large as the movie industry today.
Yeah.
Back to the movies that were made in the 80s and 90s and we watch them today, we'd be like, oh my gosh, what was that?
Yeah, that's true.
It's kind of good to see that we are growing, we are improving, and we are offering something to the players that we'd like to watch 20 years down the road and not totally facepalm, right? Not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I created such a product. Speaking of which, if you go back and play a game made by our lead designer, like Civilization 4, till today it's getting praises. If you go back and play a game that we launched 5 years ago as Mohawk Games, Off-World Trading Company, we still play it today. We still enjoy it today. And we want to create something we'll play 10 years from now, and we still enjoy it. We're very, very particular about what we do. We pay attention to every detail. We do not lazy. Like, we don't say, oh, you know what, that's it. We've published the game. Let's just move on to the next project. We go back. We really like to get as close as possible to the perfect product we can get. So I hope we have competition. I hope we have fierce competition that only can.
Okay.
That's a very interesting point of view.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, do you think the beginning is kind of harsh for a independent software house, or do you think, okay, of course you have to find the proper team and so on, but do you think, I don't know, that at the beginning there are some issues that can be changed and so on?
I think that for any startup company in an industry that has a lot of competition, I mean, we don't really know how many studios open every single day, right? How many new ideas for a new game are happening every single day. And around that, you'll find a team. Sometimes a team of 1, sometimes a team of 2, sometimes a team of 200 or 2,000. So, but for small studios, there's always high risk.
Yeah.
Right? Every time you're working around an idea, there's high risk. So I wish I can tell someone, oh, this is the set of things you need to do to become a great studio or to survive, as a studio.
Yeah.
I don't know what advice to give someone today. The industry is so large. There's a lot of competition. I hope that big studios or publishers provide enough time to listen to new, fresh ideas, and not just work with the same big houses over and over and over again. It's also better for the consumer.
Yeah.
Because you are listening to new, fresh things. Hopefully, if we ever have enough success, and we do not want to become a huge studio, that will go against our creative modes. Both myself, I think, and I think I speak for Soren as well. We want to stay small. We want to continue creating. This is a good life to live like this, being able to create things we like to create and having that freedom. But I hope that in some ways, at some point, once we are comfortable and maybe older, we start giving back to smaller developers who have good ideas, want to help someone from the industry help them. We'd like to probably get involved in something like that instead of retiring.
Nice. Yeah.
Very nice. And for another question, we see that in an online speech you gave last fall in a conference promoted, if I remember correctly, by the Value Foundation. You talked about the process of mechanizing history for obviously the history games. Can you explain this concept, this mechanizing history?
Yes, I'll try.
Okay, we are here for it.
So it was a big presentation, and thank you for remembering it. Yes, so at Mohawk Games, yes, I am the CEO, but I am also the narrative designer and the 2D art director. Mechanizing history. I was thinking of my role at the company one time, and I do not work a lot with little small mechanics as much as the lead designer does. I work with the events and the historical research and the general narrative. And I have to figure out a way to make the events that pop up interesting in gameplay.
Okay.
So, and because I'm researching the biographies of the leaders of Old World, we have 7 civilizations. Rome is one of them in the ancient world of the Mediterranean. It starts with Romulus.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, in Old World, we're starting with Romulus, who is a twin to Remus.
Yes, of course.
And they were raised by, I'm telling you because you know, so you'd see, like, based on a story, you know how I mean mechanizing history here. So how do I start? Okay, I'm starting with a leader. His mom and his father, allegedly, is Mars. So he doesn't have a father in a tree, like a family tree. When we start with, he doesn't have a father, but he is a deity. So you're gonna make him start with legitimacy being very high, because he is the son of a god.
Yeah.
So I'm able to mechanize history by adding legitimacy to him because he's a son of a god.
Okay.
And then I need to have a relationship with family. So I made his relationship with his brother very cautious and plotting against. He ends up killing his brother.
Yeah.
So that's also mechanizing history. So taking the narrative, taking the story, and choosing to do something with it that the player knows what to do. How do we translate that to gameplay? And then I gave him a trait. So I think at some point I made him either too ambitious or greedy or something. He wants it very, very badly. He wants to establish a kingdom. Of course, there are parts of the story that were very hard to work with, like, you know, the Sabine women, and what do we do with that type? history. We don't hide it, of course, but we try also not to bring it to gameplay, because it's so dark that we don't know how to offer it to the player to do anything with. How does this bring you bonus to your kingdom?
Yeah.
So yeah, we started with that. So this type of call when we are choosing the bios for leaders, for example, is mechanizing history. There are so many events that happen in history that we adopted in events that took place in history, and we give the player options to choose from. One of them actually happened in history, and they can choose it. And based on that, they get either growth or legitimacy, whichever depends on the event itself. They can unlock a tip, something from the tech tree. They can gain a trait, etc. But that's all mechanizing history. It's turning stories into tangible effects in the gameplay.
Very interesting. The world of developing games is full of challenges like that. I like this kind of kind of representation of events and so on.
Yeah. So we're talking again about Old World, and we saw that you put a strong effort around accuracy, and there are, of course, you just explained that there are some liberties that the player can take from historical facts, but you always remember the historical facts, as you already said. So within the mechanizing of history, how do you think that the developers can conciliate this accuracy with the playability of the game? Do you think the effort to make an historical game too much historical can hurt the playability and vice versa, or?
So it's a very important question. I think that it will never get answered and closed, because each person who's going to try to answer this question is going to answer from not objectively. You know, there are so many different answers to this question, and it's really based on the people creating a certain game or not. In my viewpoint, historical accuracy is important. As we start the game, we have the historical accuracy. We took some liberties in the sense of we went and consulted the references when we were creating the worlds originally. But as you probably know, history isn't facts, right? The myth of Remus and Romulus, like when were they really born? You know, did they really, you know, what really happened to them? So you have to also be a bit of an artist narratively to fill in some gaps. And that's also, of course, historical freedom. We're just liberties we're taking to make the right call, the right assumptions based on the amount of reading we've done. And we've done 4 or 5 years worth of reading. So it's not like...
Yeah, it's a huge work.
Yeah, I mean, you might not know this, but we have a few historical degrees on the team. Soren Johnson has a history degree from Stanford, for example. We do nothing but read history, 15 years of nothing but that. So the work is research for sure. But then once you research everything and you realize, oh, wait, Plutarch is, might be true.
Yeah.
He can tell a story, but you know, you have to read it with many grains of salt. So what do we do with the references we have is a whole different thing. And also, who is the story coming from? What are we dragging from? So much of the books that were kept were burnt. We don't have we know the story from Rome and Greece. We don't know the story from Assyria and Babylonia and Persia. And we don't have the other side story. Where are their records? So when we offer something to the player, We research it, and then based on our best call, we offer to the player the way we think this is the bio we think happened. The liberty we took is when it comes, for example, to women. Back then, women and men weren't equal. I mean, of all the civilizations that were there, Rome was the newest. If you look at the 7 civilizations we have in Old World, Rome was the newest civilization. We have Phoenicia before Rome, we have Persia, Greece, all of the other civilizations that existed before. And even with Rome, men and women weren't equal. How many women Caesars were there?
Yeah,
right?
0.
Yeah.
So, but we had to look back and choose. I mean, Dido was a queen, so we went to Dido for Phoenicia and Carthage. And Hatshepsut was a queen who declared herself a man to be a pharaoh.
Yes, yes.
So, but men and women weren't equal. So what we did with Old World is whatever a woman can do, a man can do. So you have an archer who is a woman and an archer who's a man. You have workers who are men and women. In this case, that existed. You have a general who is a man and general who is a woman. So we made that call to, and this is our role. And when I say about our responsibility in closing that gap, this is where I feel this is our responsibility. Yeah. These games are going to be played by future generations, hopefully. We want to show them that when it comes to gameplay, they're equal. And this is how the world should be. Unfortunately, history isn't what we want to become. History is what we want to learn from, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a good way maybe to conciliate that, to look at the past and maybe conciliate with the future, and
we hope for.
Yeah.
We get there one day where we learn from the past.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And fun fact about how many women were Caesar, 0. But the fun fact it was that in the Byzantine Empire, the heir of Eastern Roman Empire, there were some empress,
several
Irene,
empress,
Zoe, Theodora, and they all they were always strong leaders, because they lived in a very sexist society.
Yeah. So they were forced to be strong, they were forced to be fierce against the enemy, and so on. Yeah.
I mean, even today, when you have a woman who is leading, you know, some people say she's leading like a man, or she's too masculine, or the way she's saying, you know, we still view a woman's strength as something that's masculine, or she's too strong, or
that's true.
She's very hard, she's very harsh, and it could be the same thing that a man would say, and we view it differently. And I hope that we are changing that. I hope that we don't associate that a woman loses her femininity by being strong and a strong leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to understand Elizabeth I a little bit differently doing this game.
Yeah.
And okay. And how about the reproduction of aesthetics and reproduction and accurate aesthetic depiction of the past obviously is not an easy task for all the things we have already talked about. And in your opinion, in your experience, what difficulties you found in order to gather all the sources and the information needed to build an accurate depiction of leaders, cities, and so on?
I'm gonna start with this difficulty that's gonna surprise you. My biggest difficulty is not finding a calendar that IKEA made that I really needed, that had 7 columns and they had nothing written on them, because I had 7 civilizations that got my whole world organized.
Nice.
creating the art or reproducing that art. If you watch me around the house, I need to clean up a whole area. Leave it without any pets or any humans, little humans or older humans, anyone coming into it. It's like this organized chaos that I like. They have different things and different colors and color palettes that I think, for example, Via Recta was like that, or I think that the colors of Asteria's wall were like this, or this is how the hanging gardens would have looked like. And I would cut up pictures and make a small little collage, and I'd talk to my artist and I say, this is how I think it is, these are my references. I take photos with my phone about things that I think that I can't draw. I cannot draw. So I go on the internet looking for images that match what I'm seeing in my head, and I send them to the artist. In the beginning, it was hard because this is a new relationship with the artist. He needs to understand what I'm seeing in my head. But then it became so easy. Like I'd start saying, not this kind of green, a lighter green, and he knows exactly what I'm saying. And we were able to reproduce, based of course on research and history, reproduce paintings like the Ishtar Gate, and we got enough made that we got the attention of the Ancient History Encyclopedia, which now is the World History Encyclopedia Online, and we have a collaboration with them. We're working together. So they took our images and they used them on their websites. We got the attention of the British Museum. They added one of our paintings to their virtual tour.
Nice.
So,
nice, very nice, yeah.
turning one of my rooms into this chaotic hell was actually and it's so much fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, in another question that I think about right now, in your opinion, okay, which is the most challenging part to create an historical video game, like the reproducing the society, the music, aesthetics, all?
For me personally, it would be insecurity. I always doubt that I have all the story. So when I read everything about Dido, Queen Elisar, I doubt that I have all the pieces of stories. So I keep digging. At some point, I've learned that the priority is to finish the product, or I'm holding someone back, or but it is that insecurity. And then there is the convincing the players that it's okay to take liberties the way we took them. Like the message is more important than accuracy in this specific, like when I said that there were people on our Discord who came from people from the community who's like, but this isn't accurate. Women weren't equal and your game should not present them as equal. And I'm like, I understand they weren't. And we're not stating from the beginning that they are. We're just making them in gameplay equal. Like it doesn't change anything in gameplay. Like we're not trying to retell history with falsehood. We're just trying to make the gameplay equal. We're not trying to rewrite history. Everything that's presented in text is accurate. Like all of the bios are accurate. Everything is accurate. But when it comes to gameplay, just allow us to show the new generation, or give the new generation the ability to access that both men and women can do the same thing, and change that. Yes, of course, it's not in the old world, granted. But I'm trying to create a game that is based historically on the old world, I want the gameplay to give us a taste of how we hope the new world would be.
So the dilemma is up to the player to utilize a female character or a male character inside the game. Basically,
the dilemma is making the right balance.
Yeah.
The dilemma is creating the right balance. We have slavery. What do we do with slavery in game?
Exactly.
You have to, we can't pretend it didn't exist. What do you do with child labor?
Yeah.
What do you do with biographies where, Mars forced himself on the mother of both Remus and Romulus? What do you do with that type of history? Dido's brother killed her husband. Ashurbanipal killed his brother. Cyrus, his grandfather, wanted to kill him.
It's very the ancient history in particular is very, very cruel.
So
Exactly.
you have to, there are so many challenges with history. I keep saying this to my friends. I don't think the Old Testament should be in public libraries.
Yeah, that's true. It's very harsh. Yeah.
So,
and okay, just to finish this interview, we would like to ask you if you have future projects, and if you want to talk a little bit more about Old World, if you want, and about the future of Mohawk Games and the projects you have in mind.
yes, of course. So we can't talk. I can't talk in depth into where we're going for many reasons.
Obviously.
We have so many options. We have 3 different projects we're hoping to work on, and I put everything on hold until we release Old World, which July 1st it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm gonna take 2 weeks kind of off of Slack, off of communication, but I'm gonna be working on focusing on our next steps.
Mm-hmm.
We are gonna create more historical games. We're gonna create them in different forms. Hopefully, an RPG is coming.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, we have a good theme, I hope, and it's a good historical theme, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with it. I mean, I can't stop my brain from working around it. I try to focus on the moment, as now we have a huge product, Old World, on the market, and we're still taking care of that and optimizing that. But we have some really, really fun historical ideas that we want to play around with. The most historical will be so far is Old World.
Okay.
With historical accuracy. We might even get more historical with DLCs coming out with historical accuracies. We're gonna revolve them around specific historical events or specific historical nations.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the most accurate we'll ever be I think for now as a studio, because our next ones are going to be historical, but historical accuracy isn't going to be the funnest aspect of them. We have a specific idea that I think is going to be appealing.
Okay, nice. So you in the future you will also come back to Old World and then add in something new and maybe expand the product and so on.
The product is receiving a lot of good praise and good reviews, and we're going to continue taking care of the main game, which is Old World. We're going to continue optimizing Old World as the main game, and we're going to create DLCs that can be more historical than the main game, because we can be nation-specific, civilization-specific, not just the nations we've created, but other civilizations. We want to go into areas of the world that are less known and bring them to light.
Yeah.
You know, you being from Rome, you know, Rome is one of the favorite babies of history. So we want
to we know as well.
Yeah.
We want to move away. I would love to create something around Ethiopia, for example.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see. The world is our oyster.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's such a huge world, and so much history and color and culture, and we'll get a chance to get into music and food and culture. And I made so many great friends because of this historical games that I almost every country I'm thinking of visiting, I have a specialized tour guide to go around the historical parts. And that alone is a game. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very nice.
Well. And
okay, so we are actually done. Do you have some other question? Okay, Valerio. Okay.
No. I just added the question of the most challenging part. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was not on the program. And if you want to add, speak something, Leyla, we have some minutes. If you want to put focus on something that we have not talked about, or
when I was approaching the games industry, I came from the State Department. I used to work in journalism and politics and that part of the world. I used to feel that I didn't belong because what can someone from academia bring to a video game industry? So I felt my approach first was to learn how to code. So I went and registered in coding courses to learn how to code. And then I will say this to anyone who's listening who doesn't know how to code and comes from academia, please don't do that. It's not a waste of time. It isn't. It's not for me. At least I know how to get in code and change things, and I'm comfortable. When it comes a little bit more complicated, I go to the engineers. But what I want to say is that the games industry is so vast. The job I was doing so many different things at the same time that could fall under, I wish I had someone to hire completely full-time to do it. And they don't even need to know how to read code or know what code it is or what engine we're using, nothing. They need nothing but just artistic knowledge. Same goes for writing skills. You know, one can write great events that are historically based and have history degree with good writing skills, and give me the events themselves, and I can plug them in. That's not a problem. So if you feel that coding is intimidating, and it's for people who are listening, and it's your way into the industry, it's not really. And don't let anyone tell you that you don't belong if you feel like you can be of value artistically, and there's like narrative design, all sorts of things. So just surround yourself with positive people who can guide you or connect you with people who can appreciate your talents and make you feel welcome in the games industry. That only raises, again, the bar of the products we offer the players.
Okay, that's a nice final touch. Yeah.
Well, so Leyla, we will thank you so much to giving us the opportunity to discuss the very interesting speech, and we hope it is not the last interview we had. Maybe we could add some interviews in the future. Who knows? Maybe about your future games for Mohawk Games.
Or maybe we will see us in another conference or so on. So yeah.
That would be really, really nice.
Yeah. So thanks a lot, and see you the next time. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.